What's the point of Mega Evolution when it just makes your Pokemon miserable? Mega Victory Bell can't stop puking incredibly corrosive toxic. I mean, like, look at that. Look at the sheer amount. It's disgusting. It's unpleasant. And it is so horrible for Victory Bell that it has to choke itself with its own vine to hold back the poison. And eventually, it still just becomes too much. That's just horrible. Why? Why even do it? And there's so many problems with Mega Evolution, I'm really not surprised that Game Freak tried to retcon it being a fun and good thing for Pokemon back in Pokemon Sun and Moon. They immediately realized the mistakes and problems like, oh, with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, we have to make even more of them. What about the next games? What about all this other stuff? And that's why they made all of the Pokedex entries, well, not all of, there's still a couple of happy ones like Mega Ampharos, but for the most part, it's like, oh, this is a horrible thing that kills your Pokemon by Mega Evolution, or just extremely harms them, or causes you to die. And that's why this came to mind, because Game Freak buried Mega Evolution. They knew it wasn't sustainable. They knew it wasn't good for Pokemon. You can bring it back for a campaign or promotional thing, especially for merchandise, but you can't taint the main series with it again. Pokemon Legends ZA and Pokemon Champions bringing back Megas are going to ruin the legacy of Mega Pokemon, because people are going to realize, like, oh, yeah, it was cool to have just at that moment. And it was kind of already overstaying its welcome, so now we're going to get a refresh of it in an era where everything is corporatized and made worse from the original, and we can already see that with Pokemon Legends ZA being a terrible game and all these Mega rollouts not being successful. And now that we're getting a lot of Mega reveals for Pokemon Legends ZA, every other problem with Mega Evolution is really getting annoying. Hawlucha could have just been an evolution. Should have just been an evolution. So now, the possibility for existing Pokemon to get evolutions has been reduced, or at least can't happen while we have Megas on the table. We got Dunsparce for Generation 9, but now we're going back to Kalos, so we have to do Megas, guys! And that means Game Freak is forced into doing Megas, where we could have just gotten a Hawlucha evolution. Now, it is weirder and more difficult for Pokemon that are already at a full evolutionary line. 4 stages starts getting weird, but why not just start doing branched evolutions? Just split it. But then the problem is that you can't, like, pump the stats into it because they have to be similar. Or is every split evolution the same base stat total? Turns out the answer is yes and no. Flashbang warning? Because Politoed didn't get buffed, but Poliwrath did. So they were originally 500 base stat total, but Poliwrath just never got used, and Game Freak thought 10 stats is going to make it better. However, Politoed was already getting, like, competitive play because of its ability, so it just never got buffed. Or maybe Game Freak completely forgot about it. Who knows? So, like, that's weird on the split evolutions. And then it's one of those things like, oh yeah, we actually don't have that many of them, at least for a completely new species, because then there's ones that go into the same species. But when compared to Mega Evolution, there's just so many more Mega Evolutions, and then a lot of regional variants do this. But regional variants also have the same problem of they kind of have to still be the same, so the same base stat totals. And because it's a new thing and it has to be distinct, then it gets a completely shattered ability and or new signature move, and then the other one just kind of fades into obscurity. So it's like, well, what's the point of keeping parity with the base stat total if you don't want to be like, well, if this is 50 stats more, it's just better, and then no one's going to care about the original. So then you just give it a big ability and stats, and then no one cares about the original. That's already the issue with Mega Evolution, is because you can only Mega Evolve one Pokemon, so you're already choosing all the other Megas that now don't even matter. Who cares about Mega Houndoom? Its design is cool, but it's just the worst competitive Mega, or at least one of them. And then who knows what horrors Mega Dragonite is going to bring to competitive Pokemon? That's another problem. If we have a fan favorite, everyone loves it, so it needs to get a Mega, but it's also the #1 most used, most performant Pokemon on the Battle Stadium, we got a lot of problems. There's like no way this thing can't be busted. Also, Mega Dragonite, another Mega Pokemon that just has a totally disgusting design. And the upcoming Malamar reveal feels different than Hawlucha, because Hawlucha exists as a basic Pokemon, so if it got an evolution, that would just kind of be a cool thing, and I don't think Hawlucha was distinct enough. Like, this design for the Mega could have just been the evolution, and that's it, and it's not like, oh, I wish I could revert it back to Hawlucha, because Hawlucha is cool. No, like, Hawlucha, and then Muchalucha, Hawlucha could just be fine, and they all exist together, and everyone's happy. Mega Malamar is kind of a different problem. It's like, oh yeah, it could have just been evolution. However, Malamar is a cool, distinct Pokemon. I am not falling for the propaganda. I think this is one of the stupidest campaigns ever, especially like following up all this other nonsense. Instead of just giving us gameplay and getting us genuinely hyped about the games, it's some DEI corporate Zoomer trash campaign. Oh, and I just refreshed the page because I had to re-record a part with an audio glitch. It's like, oh boy, I'm so excited and engaged with Pokemon and the upcoming Pokemon game with all of this nonsense that I think this would work if we didn't already have all these like animations and all this build up. It's already played out because we did a spooky weird teaser in August for Victory Bell, and then we had a Hawlucha animation. So it's like now we're just doing some kind of gimmicky campaign for every Mega. It really takes away from it. But if we were getting like normal reveals, normal gameplay, and we had that Pokemon Sun and Moon hype, and then this just drops on a Friday, not a Thursday, because then we know we have to wait the entire weekend, then we got something. Now just like, oh, yeah, now we're just getting bombarded with nonsense and nothing to get excited about. And only terminally online fake fans of Pokemon can't see through this being nonsense. The only thing this campaign does is make an unintentional meta commentary about how easily losers are brainwashed online. Huh. But Malamar's always been a compelling Pokemon. However, Game Freak did that thing where they say, hey, we're giving it a really good ability, so it's not allowed to be that good of a Pokemon with Contrary. And there's many such cases of this where you look at something, Shiinotic. Shiinotic started with the best move in the game in Strength Sap, but it's a Fairy Grass type Pokemon that has no stats to back it up, and Amoonguss just washes it. Also, yeah, Shiinotic has Spore. It's like Spore Strength Sap. Most disgusting combo in the game, but you can't make it viable or else it gets the most play ever and becomes impossible to deal with. Phalanx probably being the best example because it got no competitive play despite having a move that gives it +1 to everything. So then Game Freak removed all of its stats to where that +1 doesn't do anything for it. Excellent. So like with Malamar, yeah, it's Contrary, and it already got some play in Generation 6, and it can already do some weird stuff, like that superpower combo is really fun, so you can't make it any stronger. Giving an evolution, like just turning the Mega, whatever the Mega design is, into an evolution, kind of feels like too over the top, too much. Like, okay, now Malamar doesn't exist. It fades into obscurity as a middle stage Pokemon because the evolution is just more viable and cooler. So it needs a temporary form, which is what Mega fixes. But then you have all the other problems of Megas, like you can only use one. If the design's bad, you're just stuck with it. Actually, no, I was wrong, because Eviolite Malamar then exists, and the game is just completely ruined. So that's where, like, split evolutions could solve this, and not take away from either Pokemon, and having, like, a more tuned design of the other evolutions kind of weird, but I think there's precedent for that. I mean, technically, that's all the regional variants, but we can't have a Kalos form. However, like, yeah, they're all about one-upsmanship. But, I mean, if they can do this, and give us 4 Slowpoke evolutions, they gotta find a new way to, like, make their design philosophy work. And also feels like everyone forgot how hated Megas were back in Generation 6, mostly on the competitive side, but it also affects casuals because Lil Timmy is going to get stomped by Mega Blaziken, Mega Kangaskhan. They don't know how to deal with Mega Gengar, which is why all the bad players over at Smogon had to ban so many Mega Evolutions nonstop, is because it affects everyone, that you can go, yeah, cool, my Charizard's Mega. Well, no one likes you because Charizard gets special treatment, so you get to feel bad about that. And then Mega Charizard X actually being a strong competitive Pokemon. But even if you are a competitive player, you can just feel like there's not a Mega that you want to use on your team, where now you're forced into changing your playstyle because you have to use a Mega since they are so overtuned. They are made to be the raid boss of your team, and now that competitive issue is guaranteed going to get stronger. There's going to be like a new, the best, like the new #1 best Mega Pokemon will be in this batch. And especially over a decade since we last had Mega Evolution, back in the day, people would actually try to play games and they could handle losing. Nowadays, Zoomers, they can't handle any discomfort in their life, and Mega Evolution is only discomfort, even for casuals or even for people trying to get into competitive Pokemon. They cannot overcome this. The environment is going to be horrible because that's what Mega Pokemon created, and we already went through this with Generation 6 and Generation 7, where the game was just not good with Megas, and then there's really nothing else Megas bring, and that's why Game Freak tried to retcon it, and that's why I did a video about it. Game Freak really wanted you to be uncomfortable with Mega Evolution. It makes your Pokemon go insane. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. It's a little too ferocious. Yeah, people like to see the adult stuff in Pokemon, and Mega Lucario going insane and just destroying Ash's Pikachu against Trainer's Will. Sure, yeah. This kind of stuff can make the younger generations slightly less snowflakey, but even then, it just kind of shows like, it's Mega's anti-Pokemon and brings nothing to Pokemon. All it does is cause division with the Pokemon that get it. You have a big chance to now just completely miss on the Mega Evolution. It's temporary unless Game Freak now wants to have Megas in for a decade. And at some point, we're all going to be tired of it. We're all going to regret wishing upon this monkey's paw to bring back Megas. And then everything is just worse with it. And I didn't realize that Mega Garchomp was this ugly. So, like, Mega Garchomp, objectively, like, the worst Mega. Horrible design, and then just completely useless. It's actually a downgrade for Garchomp. Another issue with Mega Evolution, but then that reminded me of the Pokedex entries, where all the red stuff is melted. That Garchomp's arms melt into sides on the Mega Evolution, so its face also does the same thing. And if we go back to the Victory Bell, energy from Mega Evolution has produced such a large amount of acid within its body, it has to wrap up its own throat to prevent the acid from spilling out. And then when all that acid has matured, it smells sweet enough to make others dizzy. However, it melts steel, so trainers who use Mega Victory Bell in battle will need to keep that in mind. Who's like, yeah, I'm a Mega Victory Bell trainer. I just have to not get dissolved by my Pokemon, who is choking itself out constantly. Great. Awesome. It's just so anti-Pokemon. Like, it works once, but bringing it back further shows like how Game Freak has lost their way. They have no idea what the spirit of Pokemon is, and now they're just kind of pandering to the toxic, I wouldn't even say like vocal minority, because it has become the most part of the Pokemon community. They're just pandering to the weirdos that are not Pokemon fans. They don't understand what Pokemon is about, and they think Poketubers like Pokemon Challenges and WolfGlick are making real content that's any good, because they just don't know anything about Pokemon. It's so fake, and we already knew how bad it was.
Pokemon Sun and Moon is already notorious for having dark Pokedex entries about Mega Evolution. I mean, look at some of these right here. Mega Salamence. Anyone standing in its path gets sliced right in two, while this Pokemon continues its flight without interruption. So the idea behind Mega Evolution is it's a strong trainer-Pokemon bond, that you unlock the Pokemon's true power through friendship. Well, that's kind of what you expected, but in reality, it's closer to unlocking the 8 Chakra Gates in Naruto, and I'm not kidding. Let's look at Mega Scissor's Pokedex entry. It stores the excess energy from Mega Evolution, so after a long time passes, its body starts to melt. It literally degrades from the amount of power that it's trying to harness through its Mega Evolution. And also, the other Pokedex entry isn't any better. When it battles for a long time, the weight of its pincers becomes too much to bear. So it actually becomes just an absolute strain on the Pokemon to Mega Evolve, even though you're thinking, cool, my best friend is super powerful now. Nah, you're actually like killing your Pokemon when it Mega Evolves. And even the Pokemon Sun and Moon Pokedex entry is pretty bad. The excess energy that bathes this Pokemon keeps it in constant danger of overflow. It can't sustain battle over long periods of time. So if it does, it melts. Alright, so let's keep this pain train going with Mega Gengar. Now, in Pokemon Sun and Moon, not really that bad. Gengar's relationships are warped. It has no interest in opponents unless it perceives them as prey. So I mean, you can expect that a Ghost-type Pokemon with Mega Evolution might get a little twisted, but then when we get into Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, it tries to take the lives of anyone and everyone. It will even try to curse the trainer who is its master. So it just becomes a ruthless killing machine that once it Mega Evolves, it's done. Anything that it sees is dead. And that's a big step up from Pokemon Sun. You know, there was some kind of hope. It's like, okay, unless it sees them as prey, nah, it just wants to kill everything. And then we start getting to some sad ones, like Mega Absol. Normally, it dislikes fighting, so it really hates changing to this form for battles. Are you Are you making me feel guilty about this? Like, it feels like Game Freak is really trying to make us feel guilty about Mega Evolution, because Mega Absol, I've used Mega Absol. I like Mega Absol. It's a fun Pokemon to use because of that magic bounce. However, when you think that you're unlocking your Pokemon's true strength, you're making them powerful, Mega Absol hates fighting, and it's like, why are you doing this to me, man? Like, you're making me powerful and now I gotta kill things, and it actually kills things. Converts the energy from Mega Evolution into an intimidating aura. Faint-hearted people expire from shock at the sight of it. Expire means die. Like that milk you forgot to throw out last week in the fridge? Yeah, it's gone, just like those people. So you die of shock from how intimidating this Pokemon is, and it doesn't even want to be there in the first place, so you're accidentally killing people against its will. That's messed up, yo. Next up, we're going to talk about Mega Gyarados. Mega Evolution places a burden on its body. The stress causes it to become all the more ferocious. And that's another thing about Mega Evolution, that it's too much power for the Pokemon to handle, and it causes harm to the Pokemon. And I mean, that's not good on Gyarados either, because Gyarados is already an angry Pokemon to begin with, so making it more angry and more ferocious through pain is not a good thing, and it didn't even get a break in Pokemon Sun. Mega Evolution also affects its brain, leaving no other function except its destructive instinct to burn everything to cinders. So its brain degrades into only wanting death and destruction while feeling stress and getting more angry and wanting more death and destruction. That's what happens when you use the Mega Gyarados. Mega Kangaskhan actually gets a bit more deep when you have to break down how it works. When the mother sees the back of her Mega Evolved child, it makes her think of the day when her child will inevitably leave. That is so messed up, and it's like you have the parental bond going in, but then you have to think about it, because when you look at Kangaskhan, the child is safely in the pouch. In the Mega Evolution, the child jumps out and starts fighting, so that means Mother Kangaskhan is in the back, looking at the back of its child, and then it's just like this, not even reminiscent, but like a futuristic look as when the child grows up and walks away, just walks into the sunset, and Kangaskhan experiences that every time you Mega Evolve it. That's heartless. That is so heartless. Mega Pinsir, it zips around at blistering speeds, looking for an opening to skewer its opponent. So yeah, it just becomes a speedy, flying death machine. You know, that's kind of standard. That's actually one of the more tame ones when it comes to Mega Evolution. Mega Aerodactyl. Mega Evolution is a burden on its body, so it's incredibly irritated. Here we go again. Hurts the body, stresses the Pokemon, makes it angry, and gives it more power off the anger. That's not a fun, happy thing that you want to be doing to your Pokemon every single battle. Then we get to talk about Mega Heracross. When Mega Evolution ends, Heracross is bothered by terrible soreness in its muscles, and that just makes me feel like it's Luffy's Gear 4th from One Piece, but also kind of makes you think about other Mega Evolution. If these Pokemon are degrading themselves, if they're feeling pain off of the amount of power they are harnessing after the Mega Evolution, they're going to be absolutely spent and wrecked, not even counting the damage that they took from the battle, which is also why I compare it to Luffy's Gear 4th. Because it uses up all of its energy for that Mega Evolution, and then all it does is suffer afterwards while it's suffering through Mega Evolution just to get absurd amounts of power. And then we start getting to some really messed up ones that you wouldn't really expect. Like, you look at Mega Houndoom, it's got red claws. You know, that's kind of like a cool cosmetic feature, right? Nope. Its red claws and tips of its tail are melting from high internal temperatures that are painful to Houndoom itself. Once again, the Pokemon harnesses so much power, so much energy, it starts melting. This is a fire-type Pokemon that is causing itself to melt because of the power of Mega Evolution, and it experiences pain because of it. Could you imagine how painful it must be to fight something, like to claw at things while your fingers are actually melting off? That is the life of Mega Houndoom. Actually, it's a dog. It's on 4 legs. It is walking on melting claws that are painful to it while also fighting and then taking damage. Why, Game Freak? Why are you doing this to us? It just keeps getting worse. Mega Tyranitar. Due to the colossal power that poured into it, this Pokemon's back split right open. Its destructive instincts are the only thing keeping it moving, so it's experiencing so much pain that it would be unable to move if it wasn't already just wanting to kill and destroy from the power of Mega Evolution, causing it to get overwhelming anger and strength. And actually, it's something that makes sense. Like, you kind of look at it, it's like, yeah, that back kind of looks more like a rock kind of outcropping, you know, just an explosion of power. No, it's actually like exploding the back. And you can even look at the back sprite for Tyranitar, and you can see that there was like an extra shell over it. Well, that shell now becomes exposed and literally just splits right open. So good job on Game Freak for keeping the continuity of this Pokemon together while making a disturbing Pokedex entry. Also, its tail splits open like a banana, which is probably painful as well. I would just go and put that out there. Mega Sableye. Bathed in the energy of Mega Evolution, the gemstone on its chest expands, rips through its skin, and falls out. Now, without that description, I didn't think that, you know? Mega Sableye is one of my favorite Mega Pokemon to use. He's my buddy. Mega Sableye is my buddy. I don't want him to have, like, things being ripped out of him through Mega Evolution, and you see it every time. Like, I thought it was cool. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a little bit fun that when Sableye Mega Evolves, you know, you see the gem burst through its chest, and then it starts using it to fight. That's kind of cool. But then when you look at the other Pokedex entries, where you can see the message that Game Freak is trying to say about Mega Evolution, that it's painful, it's bad for your Pokemon, it's bad to want this much power out of your Pokemon, it goes from being neat to, oh, I am so sorry. Like, this whole Pokedex entry tells a story. You know, the gemstone expands, then rips through its skin, then falls out. You know, they have to just add that little bit of extra detail in the limited amount of characters that they have to make a Pokedex entry just to convey that message. Mega Sharpedo is also messed up, but at this point, what would you expect from Mega Evolution? The yellow patterns it bears are old scars. The energy from Mega Evolution runs through them, causing it sharp pain and suffering. I mean, we can also see that, you know, Sharpedo, it's a very battle-worn Pokemon. I mean, it's a shark, so what do you expect? It's going to eventually end up with some scars, but that's just brutal. That since it is growing in size, since it is growing in powder, it just rips open the scars again, causing the Pokemon to feel pain. And like, that's a lot of scars. That's a lot of pain that Pokemon must be. They've got like the cliche one over the eye. They're just all over the place, and that's ridiculous how scarred that Pokemon is. But hey, that's Mega Evolution. Bayonet, once again, I will give the Pokemon Company and Game Freak props for the continuity. So the cursing power that was held back by its zipper comes spilling out. As you can see, there's a lot of zippers opening up on the Mega Bayonet, but regular Bayonet, a cursed energy permeated the stuffing of a discarded and forgotten plush doll, giving it new life as Bayonet. The Pokemon's energy would escape if it were to ever opens its mouth. So now its energy escapes. That it's no longer able to hold back the zippers, and then you can see its true form, its true energy escaping. And also, I'd imagine that's a pretty extreme drain on the Pokemon as well. That if it runs out of energy, if it runs out of life force, bad things start to happen, but now it just comes spilling out without any control because of Mega Evolution. Glalie. We've already talked about Mega Glalie. That's one of the big boys that people were talking about being messed up in Pokemon Sun and Moon, because yeah, the power of Mega Evolution was so strong that it smashed Glalie's jaw, and now it's unable to eat because its jaw is cracked open. That's it. Glalie looks so creepy because its jaw is literally broken, can't close it, and it's just stuck like that. And that also forces just its ice energy to leak out nonstop through its mouth. Mega Salamence. So we already talked about Mega Salamence. A little bit messed up, just slices right through the trainer, has no care whatsoever. Well, we can actually find out why now. The stress of its two proud wings becoming misshapen and stuck together because of strong energy makes it go on a rampage. So Salamence actually hates everything about its form. That you expected that's like, now it's like a cool, just super efficient, just blitzing kind of fighter jet Pokemon. No, it doesn't like that. It doesn't like being this massive hyperspeed glider or anything, because it's the power has just fused its wings together, and it hates that. So that just makes it angry. And then it's also experiencing pain from Mega Evolution, as we can probably just assume with all Mega Evolution, and then it just goes around flying things, and maybe that's why it slices its trainer in two. You did this to me, ripped apart, boom, nothing. Mega Metagross. Oh god, I don't even, like, this one's pretty terrible as well. When it knows it can't win, it digs the claws on its leg into its opponent and starts the countdown to a big explosion. So it uses its weight, it uses its power, it uses its claws just to land on the opponent, pin them down, and then it's just like a machine that's self-destructing. Like, alright, I already know about, you know, Metagross, an explosion combo, an explosion set on that thing, fairly common, but I mean, that's the tactical edge. This thing goes, you know what, I can't win, I'm already dead probably, so I'm making sure you die with me. That is how calculating and destructive Mega Metagross is. Also, the other Pokedex entry, not comforting in the slightest. Its intellect surpasses its previous level, resulting in battles so cruel they'll make you want to cover your eyes. We're talking about Pokemon. You know how in the opening of some Pokemon movies they have like two very powerful trainers battling it out in like a championship match, or just something that's supposed to look like a really high-class Pokemon battle? Like, that's entertainment, you know, that is what Pokemon is about. But like, resulting in battles so cruel they'll make you want to cover your eyes. Could you imagine the most experienced, the most veteran trainers, the most champion of Pokemon masters not being able to watch their own Mega Metagross just lose control? Because yeah, it'll do anything to win. We can see that. It will just clamp down and explode. I'm imagining without any trainer's consent or anything, and it's just going to go and fight on such a superior level that it will find creative ways to torture its opponent in the most cruel ways possible. That one actually chills me the most out of any of these, just because it's Pokemon. It's canon, it's in the Pokedex, that you can't even watch this thing fight because it's such a cruel, destructive machine. And then last off, we're going to talk about Mega Garchomp. Its arms and wings melted into something like scythes. So again, we have this melting, overloading, overwhelming energy, this overwhelming power of Mega Evolution, just completely melting off Garchomp's claw arm hand things and then turning them into scythes. So it's a very painful, very brutal, very graphic process that just makes Garchomp a more efficient killing machine, because Garchomp is already ferocious, but like this just streamlines into something more destructive. Also, I can imagine like the bottom part of its jaw melting a bit, giving it that extra look, and then it just goes and carves things up. There we go, guys. I wanted to say, I was kind of looking forward to if there were going to be more Mega Pokemon introduced in the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon Pokedex. Be careful what you wish for, because this could be the end result. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.